Okay, welcome back to Introduction to Entrepreneurship. Today we're going to talk about what makes a good idea. And we've already covered kind of some things around ideas and where ideas come from and opportunities, where they arise and how some can come out of crisis and some can come from little pieces of other people's ideas getting put together. But we're going to talk about just a couple of characteristics that takes an idea and says this is going to be a good idea. So let's watch this video first.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm not just a guy on a talk show. I'm an idea man. I have a lot of ideas. Every day I think of things I'm like, hey, that's an idea. And I write it down. But the real challenge is putting those ideas to work. So I decided to package some of these ideas and take them to a group of people who can do something with them. So I loaded Guillermo into my trunk, and away we went to dive straight into the Shark Tank.
Next up is an entrepreneur seeking a second chance in the tank.
Oh!
Oh, no.
Him again.
That's right, me again. Hello, Sharks. My name is Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, my Lord.
I'm from Kimmel Laboratories, as you probably know. You may remember me from last season when I presented you with a revolutionary new idea, horse pants. They're comfortable, fashionable, and business casual, appropriate for the track or the barn. As you may recall, Robert offered me $5 million for a 10% stake in horse pants, and I accepted, but when I asked him for the money up front in cash in a big bag, Robert backed out.
Shameful.
Well, this year I am back with an even better idea, and I am excited to present my latest revolutionary new concept to everyone except for Robert. Sharks, let me tell you a story. One day I was walking with my daughter down the street, and I stopped to look at a YouTube video of a baby pig wearing boots. And while I was looking at this hilarious video, my daughter ran off into the street. Luckily, no cars were coming, but I learned a valuable lesson that day, and I turned that lesson into an idea, and I turned that idea into an industry. Fasten your shark belts, because I present to you the Kid Cone. A full-size traffic safety cone for kids.
There is an actual child in there.
Say hello, Tanner.
Hello, I'm Tanner, but I can't see.
So now you can let your children play in traffic, knowing that the Kid Cone is there to protect them. I'm seeking $100,000 for 5% of this company. Personal safety is an emerging industry. I mean, if you look at this pie chart, you will see the wearable cone market, we have 100% of it right now. So if you believe that children are our future, let's do the safety dance together. Put a cone on every kid. Thank you.
Jimmy, how does it work?
You just put it over the kid's head.
Can we see that demonstrated?
Well, absolutely. Guillermo?
Sure.
See that? That's the kid.
How are you liking that?
It's pretty hot.
It's pretty hot.
Hey, it's great.
Yeah, it's also great.
It's great.
Jimmy, what does that cost?
It costs about $30 to make, and we're selling them for $29.99.
Does that hurt the child's head?
Who cares, really? I mean, the child is safe, okay? Helmets are uncomfortable, too.
Do you have anything better to show us today, or is this the top of the line?
Well, let me show you something else. Something that I believe will grab you hook, line, and sinker. Fish. People call fish the meat of the ocean. That's right. And sharks, what is the first thing you do when you eat a piece of fish? You squeeze a lemon on it. Yes?
Yes, it's true.
But do you know how dangerous that is? Look at this video we made to demonstrate.
Wow.
Whoa. But
Yeah.
what if the fish already had a squirt of lemon inside it? I present to you lemon in a fish tank. It's a lemon in a fish tank. I'm seeking $3 million in exchange for a 7.3% stake. Yes?
Jimmy, how are you getting the lemon into the fish?
Well, the fish eats the lemon through the mouth.
Do you have accredited laboratory testing on that?
Do you think I would come in here without accredited laboratory testing on any of my products?
Yes.
How dare you?
Jimmy, this idea is poo-poo on a stick. You got to take it behind the barn and shoot it. Bad one. You got anything else?
That brings me to my next idea. Poo-poo on a stick. You don't like the lemon?
No, it's bad. It's
No.
really bad.
Yes.
Okay, then Guillermo,
Just put it back on me.
let's show them what else we have. This is fruit. Doctors say we should eat more of it, but we don't. Why? Because fruit is boring. Until now. Introducing hats for fruit.
Wow.
How can this poor orange compare with a bag of Doritos? It can't until it's wearing a hat. Look at that, how cute that banana is.
I love that.
Guillermo, pass the fruit out to some of the sharks there and let them
Yes.
get an up-close look.
So, Jimmy, what are you looking for this interesting idea?
Oh, look at your French beret.
I'm looking for $30 million.
And what percentage?
Barbara.
Barbara, you threw that on the floor.
It's where it belongs.
Wait a minute, are you telling me you guys are not interested in any of my ideas?
They really suck.
This is unbelievable.
Kimmel Laboratories stock is plunging.
Have
really
you
bad.
ever taken an IQ test?
Barbara, does that mean you're out?
Oh, I'm so out. But I'll take this cute little short guy. Come on over here.
I'm so out, Jimmy. Sorry. Where am I?
Oh, you so much
Come on,
better.
Tanner. We're going home.
Okay.
So loyal.
I'll stay with you.
I'll be back, by the way, and when I am back, I'm not selling anything to any of you.
Goodbye.
Hey, Guillermo, you can stay here. So disappointing. Such a great idea, right, Tanner?
Yeah.
Oh, look who's here, Judas.
Hey, Jimmy, Barbara smells so good.
Oh, Barbara smells good?
Yeah.
It's what crap we see here, really. This show is going down the drains.
Can I go bump into something?
Yeah, go bump into something. Totally safe.
I'll be sorry. I'll be sorry. I am Jimmy Kimmel. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more, click below to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if not, do nothing at all.
Okay, so obviously those Kimmel videos are designed to be funny, but we're actually going to take some lessons from those. I mean, were those good or bad ideas? I mean, who's to say? I mean, if you really think about it, he did identify a problem. I mean, kids playing in traffic or kids running off and being unsupervised, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, the fact that you could injure yourself squirting lemon on a fish, I mean, I guess that's a problem. You know, is fruit boring? I mean, I don't eat a lot of fruit. I find it a little boring. I mean, is putting a hat on it the way to jazz it up? I mean, who's to say? Probably not. But I mean, the way he presented things obviously wasn't good. I mean, obviously these Kimmel Laboratories ideas are kind of the theater of the absurd, right? The whole point of it is to make you laugh. But it's not like there aren't some ideas in there or some threads of something that makes sense in there. So let's kind of talk about a few things. So before we get into those again, I want you to take a minute and try to guess these companies. So it kind of, I use the word invented, but the company was formed in 1995. It was formed in a grandmother's basement. This person that formed it actually was living with their grandmother, and they formed this company in the grandmother's basement. They used $40,000 of credit cards to actually form the company. Had $4.8 billion in revenue, and is popular in sports. It was actually formed by a football player. So I know you guys are all like, well, how the heck are we going to answer this? We're not in class. Just take a second and think if you can figure out who it would be. I mean, 1995, so it's a fairly new company in the great scheme of things. 40,000 of credit card debt is what got it going, and it had revenue of 4.8 billion recently. So this would be Under Armour. So Kevin Plank, who founded Under Armour, was actually a football player for the University of Maryland. And, you know, back in the day, and I say back in the day when I played football back in the day, you know, in the late 80s and early 90s, what we wore underneath our pads were cotton T-shirts. I mean, they were gray cotton T-shirts. They were put out by, you know, Champion or one of the other people who were into sports apparel at the time. And they got very heavy. When they got soaked with sweat, they were unbelievably heavy. All of these light fabrics that exist today, whisking fabrics and They dry in an instant. Fabrics, none of that was available. And so Kevin Plank, that is, was like, this is terrible. There's got to be a better way to do this. And he came up with a better material that actually now was the precursor to most of what are considered light and with, sweat wicking fabrics. I mean, Kevin Plank actually was kind of the leading person that started pushing that. And if you think about the way Under Armour grew, the company grew extremely fast because its product was different and it was better, and it was able to sign up big colleges. It was able to sign up sports, stars in the NFL to sponsor their product and endorse their product because it was that much better. It was different. It was better. And he was able to come up with this, did it in his grandmother's basement, $40,000 of credit cards. So let's try this one. This is an older company. That last one, Under Armour, was a new company. This one was started in 1941. It actually patented its product in 1955. It started as a $60 a week business. Its revenue at last, check was about $319 million. And its clue would be hooks and loops. So just take a second and think about like hooks and loops. What would be hooks and loops? That's right. If you're thinking about Velcro, then you're right. So a thing like Velcro does over $300 million a year in business. And so you're thinking Velcro, I mean, how does someone come up with Velcro? Well, if you read kind of what we have here for Velcro, George, who's the inventor, was fed up with removing cocklebur seeds from his dog and jacket. I mean, what the heck's a cocklebur seed? I mean, I don't know. But he shoved it under a microscope to try to figure out, why is this thing sticking to the dog? And why does it stick to my jacket so much? And there, when he looks at that little cocklebur, he can figure it's basically designed like a Velcro. It's got like a hook and a loop. And he thinks, wow, what a great way for something to stick. And that is what he then replicated to create Velcro, because it was so sticky. And he thought, maybe I can do this to create Velcro. So he didn't have some inspirational idea where he was trying to solve a way to have a better fastening system. Something just kind of caught his attention. He studied it and he said, wow, look at the way that works. Can I adapt? And remember, we talked about adaptation as a way to come up with ideas. Can I adapt this cocklebur seed and the way it grabs and create something else from it? And sure enough, he adapted that same concept and he created Velcro from it. This one was invented on Thanksgiving Day by Walter Morrison and his girlfriend, and a popcorn lid played a part. So a popcorn lid, think of the shape of a popcorn lid, think of what might have been invented with a popcorn lid, and if you came up with a Frisbee, then you did good. So why and how did a Frisbee come available? Popcorn used to come, and I know you guys probably see it around the holidays in those big tins, right? You get those big tins, it has 3 kinds of popcorn in it, and it has the big lid on top. Well, Walter and his girlfriend were bored on Thanksgiving, waiting for, Thanksgiving meal to get prepared so they could all sit around the table and eat. And they start throwing the lid around the backyard just to pass time. And from that comes a Frisbee. From that comes a game. From that comes, he's like, well, if we're doing this with a popcorn lid, imagine what we could do if we had a proper product. And all of a sudden, there comes a Frisbee. So again, just some activity, something he's doing that he's interested in, something he's doing to pass time, and all of a sudden a business and an idea comes out of that, and from that idea becomes a business. All right, here's our last one. This one I'm going to go quick through because it's a pet rock. But it was invented in 1975. The capital, it was bootstrapped, which means the guy didn't raise any money. He just kind of, as he earned money from his other job, he tried to get the business off the ground. It did over $4 million of business in 6 months. And the inspiration was pets' problems. What do you mean pets' problems, Steve? That's what you guys are saying. Well, he's at dinner with his friends, and all he's hearing them complain about is, man, my dog's a pain. I have to walk it. I have to pick up after it. I have to constantly clean up when it uses the restroom. My cat, I got to clean the litter. They're constantly needing to be fed. And he's like, well, what if I could invent a pet that you didn't have to take care of? And while it sounds funny and sounds weird, I mean, it caught on, and it was all in the marketing. So is this a good idea? I mean, really, is it a good idea? I mean, not really. There's not a sustaining business you can have, but it's a funny product. That's a niche product that caught on and created revenue. I mean, how many of you, if I was to say, invest 6 months of time and I will give you a return of $4 million in revenue, would say, no, I don't want to do that. most of you, I won't say all of you, some of you would say there's no way I'm going to make a pet out of a rock, or I can't, hold my head up and say that's my business. But if you actually watch the video in the link that that I've posted, and you can see it on the previous slide there, that pet rock video at the bottom, it goes into and explains how this happened and what he did. And it's actually pretty funny. But it became a little bit of a business. So what are good ideas? I mean, let's look at two things. A pet rock, right? We just talked about that. Is that a good idea? Very few people would say that's a good idea. Very few people would say, man, I can see a long-term future for a business where you're selling rocks. I mean, how do you iterate from that? Once everybody owns their rock, or how easy is it to copy? Well, now somebody says, well, I don't need to buy a pet rock. I can just go outside and pick up a pet rock, and now I make my own rock. So it's very simple to copy. There's no sustainability in the idea. Let's compare that to something like Google. I mean, when Google first came around, search engines, there was a bunch of different ones. And searching for data was not as simple as it is now with Google. I mean, most of you don't know anything but Google. I mean, I know some of you use other search engines, probably your Bing or a Yahoo, or I don't even know what other ones are out there now. I use Google pretty much exclusively. But at the time when Google was coming around, trying to organize the information on the internet and display it in a way that people could, make heads or tails out of it was difficult. But if I was to have presented to you, hey, here's two ideas. I have this pet rock idea, and I have this other idea for this search engine that's going to help, optimize information and make information available to consumers for this new industry, for this internet where people are constantly adding things to it. Which one, as you look to the future, would seem like a better idea? Well, clearly Google seems like a better idea. So why? Why is Google a better idea? Well, because when you're trying to think about where ideas come from, right, or how they could be generated, it could be a gap in the market, right? Well, Google was stepping into a little bit of a gap in the market at the time. Clearly, Pet Rock stepped into a gap in the market. There was no rock pets available. It could be a new product, a service, or an invention, right? That's where an idea to set up the company could have been generated by a new product, a service, or an invention. I mean, Pet Rock was an invention. Google is a new service. Google is a new service. If you think of Under Armour, it was a new product. It was new material. It made something better. And so it was a new product. It solved an everyday problem. Under Armour solved an everyday problem. All football players, actually anybody who was playing sports at the time, were using cotton shirts, and they all got heavy. So it was a great solution to an everyday problem. Now, if you think about our other examples, Frisbee, everyday problem. I wanted somebody to have fun. If you think about Jimmy Kimmel's things, and was his solution, Kid Cone, an innovative solution to an everyday problem? Sure. Every day there are children who run out in the street, and there are children who are put in danger. So is it an everyday problem? Yes. Was the solution innovative? Yes. Was it a good solution? Well, that's probably where the thing falls apart. And we'll talk about that kind of on our next set of slides. An interest or a hobby that can be monetized. Utilize skills you've learned in your career. A lot of the times people can set up companies because they've utilized skills that they've had in their career. A lot of consulting firms start like this. Somebody works for, industry for a while, and they learn a bunch of selling skills or how to sell, and then they set up a consulting firm where they teach sales training to people. Software, maybe you go and you program software, and then you take all of those software skills you've learned and you go out and you start your own software company where you're building games or you're building software for the market to solve a problem. So all of these different ways are where ideas can be generated, and you can see that all of the different companies we were talking about fit into different ones of these. Under Armour clearly was a new product. Google was definitely helping with a gap in the market. There was no good organized way to get the information that the internet had on it to get presented. A hobby or an interest, that's clearly the Frisbee, right? They're out playing and throwing it around in the backyard. They had an interest in just having some fun and playing. So all of these things you can see apply to those different things. But what are the commonalities? Well, it has to solve a problem. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's Kid Cone solved the problem. The lemon fish, it probably didn't solve a problem because, as they were saying, there was no guarantee, there was no backup laboratory data saying if a fish eats a lemon, it will actually then taste like lemon. But the goal is, a good idea commonality is it solves a problem. The Under Armour solved a problem. the Velcro solved a problem. It has to be different or better. Under Armour is a great example of this. It's different or better. Google, great example of this, different or better, because their solutions were different and better, which is kind of the holy grail. It had to be doable and achievable. In other words, it has to be something that you can actually create. If somebody had the idea for Google, but had no idea how to program it, they weren't a software person, well then it's not necessarily achievable if you don't have the funds to hire those people. Doable and achievable. I remember watching a Shark Tank episode once where one of the guys got on and it was all about mining asteroids. And that they're, these asteroids have all these rare earth minerals and all of these, unexplored and untapped, wealth of riches. But it wasn't doable or achievable when he started having to answer questions about, well, how are you going to land a ship on an asteroid? How are you getting people there to do the mining? How's it going to work? I mean, it wasn't doable or achievable. So it doesn't matter how much potential upside there might have been. It has to deliver value. Deliver value means it has to deliver value to the consumer, to the person that is buying it. Does the kid cone deliver value? Not really, because the poor child can't actually play in it. I mean, imagine trying to play baseball in a kid cone, or doing anything for that matter in a kid cone other than walking around. So there's no actual value being delivered. Did Under Armour deliver value? Absolutely. The players stayed cooler, the t-shirts weren't as heavy, the sweat didn't accumulate as much, so there was a bunch of value that was delivered there. Did Google deliver value? Absolutely. Information that you were searching for on the internet came back to you in a much more organized fashion. So they clearly were delivering value. It's scalable. A great idea or a good idea has something, it's scalable, meaning it can get bigger. It's not just, a solution that is targeting a population of 20. 20 people in the world need it. Well, if it's not scalable, if it can't get bigger, then maybe it's not that great of an idea, because otherwise it just becomes this little hobby business. And so even if you are let's say a pottery maker, you make pottery. If all you can produce is 10 coffee cups a year, and you don't want to scale, you can't teach someone else to do pottery the way you do it, you don't want to teach them everything that you do, you say, no, it has to be, my mark on it, it has to be hand done by me. Well, that might be a good idea for you to have a hobby business, but it's not a good idea for a business because you can't scale it to any size to provide income for yourself at a sufficient level and jobs for others. So good idea commonalities will almost always be scalable. Ideally, it's not easy to copy. I mean, let's look at Pet Rock. Was that easy to copy? Super easy to copy. Unbelievably easy to copy. So probably not that great of an idea. And the guy admitted it. Like, if you watch the video, he's going to say, yeah, I'll probably have to come up with another idea in a couple of months, but I'm just going to ride this horse as long as I can. He understood what he basically did was created this little marketing frenzy and these pet rocks, and it became a fad. But he knew there was no lasting business in that it wasn't a good idea to create a business from. It was just a good idea to create some income from. Has to have acceptable cost benefit. What that means is what the consumer pays for the product has to be less than what they perceive the benefit to get from the product. So let's look at this. If we're hungry and we're walking around the University of Houston and Chick-fil-A is open and they offer you a sandwich and it's $4 for a chicken sandwich, and you think, yes, I'm hungry and $4 is an acceptable cost to pay for the benefit of me no longer being hungry. That's an acceptable cost benefit. However, if Chick-fil-A says it's $40 for that sandwich, $40, very few people would think, the benefit of me not being hungry this minute is worth the $40 I have to pay Chick-fil-A right now for one sandwich. That's not an acceptable cost benefit. So you have to make sure there's some sort of acceptable cost benefit there. The other big thing that I want to make sure you think about is that you can make money from the idea, meaning that it can be profitable. What did Jimmy Kimmel say about the kid cone? They asked, how much does it cost for you to make it? And he said, $30. And they said, what are you going to sell it for? And he said, oh, I'm going to sell it for $29. Well, you can't make money if what you sell your product for costs is less than what it costs you to make your product. So make sure that also your product is profitable that you do. So those are some good idea commonalities. Solves a problem, it's different or better, it's doable and achievable, it delivers value, it's scalable, it's not easy to copy, and that there's an acceptable cost benefit. So that's all that we have for you today. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.